Caitlin Clark's season ended last night. And the WNBA playoffs have been phenomenal. And it looks like my team that we said was going to three-peat. I'm big on three-peats this year. The Las Vegas Aces and Asia Wilson. Despite a mediocre regular season, I think they're going to win the championship. Caitlin Clark, after a little rocky start to the year, ended up actually exceeding expectations. Clear-cut top 10 player in the league already. Arguably top 5 player in the league already. Got the team to the playoffs. But none of that is the story. And none of that is the story for me right now, because this mediocre, unimpressive, grown woman decided she was going to wear this outfit looking like this to a basketball game. And if you can't see, it says ban nails. And she has long, fake nails on her fingers, mocking Dejanay Carrington. Dejanay Carrington, who plays for the Connecticut Sun, who was interrogated all week because when she swiped for the ball, she hit Caitlin Clark in the eye. Forget the fact that Caitlin knew it was unintentional. Everyone watching seemed to think it was unintentional. The goddamn internet decided maybe it was intentional, and it became the story. And if you sense anger in my voice, it's because it's there. Because race in this country is a rubber band, y'all. And when one side stretches, the other side gets a little more tense. And then when one side snaps back, the other side feels the reaction to it. And fortunately, by some miracle, our country's racial rubber band hasn't actually fully snapped in 160 years. But every time it's stretched and every time there's pressure on it, it's not quite the same. It's frayed a bit, it's distorted a bit, and it's a little bit weaker moving forward. And here is what has happened over what should have been the greatest season in women's professional basketball history. You got this boatload of new fans because Caitlin Clark is box office, right? And the rest of the rookie class is very impressive. Caitlin Clark is box office. But unfortunately, and inevitably, and the league should have seen this train coming down the tracks, on that bandwagon were folks that weren't fans of basketball, that weren't even actual fans of Caitlin Clark. They were fans of what they thought Caitlin could represent, which was the humbling of black women. And you got this cavalcade of open, unabashed racists who tried to put a hood of Caitlin Clark fandom on, and on social internet and last night in person tried their best to terrorize her opposition. And while I have said I think it'd be better for everyone not to read their social media feeds, that's easier said than done. And Dejanay got a damn email from somebody saying, basically, hope you die. And like I said, it's a rubber band. And so what happens when it gets as bad as it has gotten, and the other side gets tenser, then all of a sudden, you have folks who are seeing this happen, seeing this big tent now has a corner of the tent occupied by figurative torch-wielding racists, and they almost as a defense mechanism start to minimize the actual on-court impact of Caitlin Clark as like a protectionism. And then the folks that weren't the torch-wielding racists and were just enjoying the basketball, they see, well, hold on. There's a lot of women who cover this league, majority of which black women, seem to be downplaying or hating on or dismissing Caitlyn. And then they get upset. And now everyone on the rubber band is, their hair is up, they're defensive, they're not actually able to give at all times their full, honest opinion of what they're seeing on the basketball court because the goddamn racists ruined it for all of us. And that is a tale as old as time for so many things, multicultural events in this country that could be great, and the goddamn racists ruin it for us. And now people get tribal and defensive and kind of illogical and all of it. And we have now reached a point where, and I apologize because she didn't ask for this, but it is incumbent upon Caitlyn herself to be more vocal in shouting this down. When asked, she has given the right answers, and she didn't ask for any of this. She's a kid thrust into superstardom by her own athletic brilliance. And she is not accountable for the actions of her fans. However, this is a massive moment for her sport and her league. And you need people other than the people being victimized by these trash human beings to put up a wall against it. So I think Caitlyn needs to be more proactive. I know Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA do. That woman should not have been allowed to remain in the stadium. That is an openly racist, defiant act. Somebody else tweeted, like, I've never been in a WNBA game before where there were MAGA hats. You can wear your MAGA hats. You're making a political statement, no problem. Now, it's an intentionally provocative political statement, just like wearing a Harris Waltz hat to a NASCAR event would be. You know the general demographic of the population you're walking into, but you're doing it to make a statement. No problem. You're trying to get a rise out of people. That's everyone's right. That shit that woman did, that she felt comfortable doing, going, by the way, not in the Indiana Fever Stadium, as an opposing team fan, was the visual representation of what these women in the league have been saying we've been dealing with all year. It's not actual Indiana Fever fans. It's not actual Caitlin Clark fans. It is people that want to see black women humbled, that are using Caitlyn as an avatar for their own perverse hopes and desires. And at this point, there needs to be a full-fronted assault against it. Because this rubber band man can only stretch so damn far. And it is putting great Monica McNutt, Andrea Carter, people that are great journalists, great commentators, are consistently put in this awful position where, because the racists have spoiled the well for everyone, I would imagine, I haven't spoken with them and I don't want to speak for them, but I would imagine they feel at times almost an obligation to not only promote other players, but to try to balance the scales on an on-court perspective. When, from an on-court perspective, in my opinion, there's two overwhelming players this year. Asia Wilson and Caitlin Clark. Doesn't mean she's second best player, but it means given her the story, her being a rookie, her performance, all of it. And I understand and I empathize with because of the toxicity of the rest of it, wanting to kind of bump up Angel or bump up other players. And Dejanay just won most improved player. She's a great player. But we haven't even been able to have a truly honest basketball discussion most of the year. And it's because the wrong people stumbled upon the party. And now it's up to everyone, even folks that didn't invite them and didn't want them there, to help kick them out. Even if the people we're kicking out are saying, but wait, we're here to see you. We support you. We're adding eyeballs. We're paying the entry fee. Doesn't matter. All money ain't good money. And that shit last night was repugnant and repulsive. And it's infuriating. And I'd love to be able to sit here and tell you a basketball story about the season, but I can't, because that's not the story of the season, sadly. The greatest season in WNBA history, arguably, the biggest story actually wasn't about the basketball. And the league leadership and its star players across the board, including Caitlin, need to stand up against it. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show, and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.